machine shut off. I guess it could be fortunate though, because I get to give one video that has talks about estimating solutions. Okay, and I notice I already wrote, so I'm just going to go and explain this. So most oftentimes, remember, your roots are not going to be integers or square roots. They're going to be irrational numbers, decimals, and hideous things. So on this second one, the estimating, I'm going to have you graph it. Okay, I started by estimating or finding my axis of symmetry, which was a negative 5 over 2 times 3, which was positive 5, 6. So I sketched it in there. I then calculated my y coordinate of the vertex by putting in 5, 6 into the equation, which gave me a negative 5 and 1/12. Not pretty. Okay, I then went on and plugged a couple of numbers in here and found, I found my y-intercept, which was, negative 3, right here, negative 3. So I knew there's kind of a place over here. I put in a 2, and it worked out nicely. It gave me negative 1, and then 0, and then I put in this one over here, and it went way up there. So I don't have a perfectly symmetrical, but I do have an idea of where it crosses. On this side, it crosses between 0 and negative 1. So in that first box, I put in 0 and negative 1, and I just worked my way from one to the other going by tenths. And it was just a calculator operation. I'm punching in numbers. You have to be careful, though, when you're punching in negative numbers, whether they're decimals or not, that you put them in parentheses before you square them, or it does shoot everything all to heck. And so I kept putting in tenths until I got to a point where, notice on negative 0.4, I had negative 0.52, so I'm still below the x-axis, but then on negative 0.5, I was at positive. So because it went from a negative to a positive, I know that somewhere in there between negative 0.4 and negative 0.5, it crossed the x-axis. And at that point, I just picked whichever one was closest to 0, which was negative 0.5. I then went on and did the same thing on the other side, which I knew was between 2 and 3, but I was pretty close. And so I didn't have to go near as long because I put 2.1 in there and got negative 0.27, and then I put 2.2 and got positive 0.52. So which one was closer to 0? In this case, it was the 2.1. So the estimated solution was 2.1. But it is nice to have a calculator that does work and to have this table so that you can estimate it. However, you still need to graph it so you know somewhere a general idea of where it is going to cross the y-axis, or you could be doing tenths of a decimal all day long. All right, so let's try another one like this. On the last page of the notes right here. So again, I provided you with the tables. You won't always look like that, but we did this. So I'm going to go ahead and just plot some in there. I know that 0 is going to be 1. I could find the x-intercept. If I found the x-intercept, it's probably not going to be pretty, or excuse me, the x-axis, which is the axis of symmetry, negative b over 2a, so it is positive 5 over 2, which is 2 1/2. So here's my axis of symmetry. If I plug that in, I'm going to get a general idea and find out what that is, but I'm not even going to worry about it. I do know that it's going to go on either side. So now I can plug numbers in. I know that this is 1. If I put 1 in there, I've got 1 minus 5 plus 1, so I've got a negative 3 right there, which tells me axis of symmetry going to be right there, and axis of symmetry also tells me this is going to be right there. And honestly, I don't need any more if I'm estimating, because I already know that this is going to cross somewhere between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and this one's going to cross somewhere between 0 and 1. So I'm going to go down to my table, and I'm going to go 0 to 1, and I'm going to go 4 to 5. And I'm just going to start punching in. So 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, and we'll see. I don't know if we'll get there because it looks like it's probably closer to 0 than it is to 1. So I'm just going to take out my calculator now and be very careful. At least in this point, I don't have negatives, so I don't have to worry about my exponent and putting parentheses in, so that is kind of nice. So let's see, we got 0.1 squared minus 5 times 0.1 plus 1. And I get 0.51. So keep going, and that's still a positive. So we want it to drop below because it is positive. We want it to drop below. So I got 0.2 squared minus 5 times 0.2 plus 1, and I get 0.04. I can almost stop there, but just to make sure, 0.3 squared minus 5 times 0.3 plus 1, I get negative 0.41. So which one, here's where it crosses the threshold, which one is closer to 0.2. So that's our first estimated answer, 0.2 as one of our roots. Now over here, I see how it's probably closer to 5 than 4. I'm going to go ahead and do 4.9, 4.8, 4.7, 4.6, because I think it's going to be over here. Now I already know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is at positive 1. Let's try 4.9. So 4.9 squared minus 5 times 4.9 plus 1 gives me a positive 0.51. 4.8 squared minus 5 times 4.8 plus 1 gives me 0.04. Anybody guess what 0.47 is going to give me? Or 4.7 is going to give me? Minus 5 times 4.7 plus 1. Ooh, weird. Negative 0.41. Which one's closer to 0? 4.8. All right. Now, I am going to tell you a secret that this probably isn't a realistic way to estimate answers, not in the digital world that we are in currently living. We have too many tools at our disposal where we can find these answers with much less effort. And so we're going to, oops, I'm trying to turn on my iPad here, and if you want to go to find your Desmos calculator, there it is. And let's just try this. I want to show you, and mine's still warming up here. Oh, there it is. So if I plug that equation in, which was y equals x squared minus 5x plus 1, oops, minus that equal sign, have it, I get a graph. And it looks very similar to the one we just graphed. I get a graph. And the cool part about this Desmos calculator is you see that right there in my x-intercepts, we have the gray dots because those represent a very important thing, the solutions. And if you simply tap on it, it will give you 0.209. It's the coordinates, and that is our answer. Now, we estimated that it was at 0.2. It was just a little higher than that, 0.209. And then I'll bet this one is going to be 4.8 something. Oh, actually 4.791, but if we were a rounding person, it would be 4.8. So while it's good that we understand that this is possible, that we can get to a very close answer, and if we wanted to do the tenths and the hundredths in there, we could get even closer. However, it would be extreme waste of time when we have tools at our disposal. So for today, I want you to graph. I will give you graph paper, but you will be able to use your Desmos calculator as a tool to help this go a little smoother. All right, your assignment is on the back page of your notes, and I will hopefully give you graph paper that you can work with. and there should be only 11 questions. If you have any questions, come and see me. Don't be mad at me for making us work hard on the notes and then giving you a break. Be thankful that I'm not making you do this for all of the ones on the assignment. All right. We'll see you later.